wonderful privilege of being the president of SCP. And I am certainly not alone in leadership in our division and society. And the purpose of this gathering is for us to be able to share a bit about the opportunities for volunteer leadership within SCP, kind of answer some questions about, about how our governance works, how our society kind of organizes itself around the divisions, around the domains. I have a pretty significant head cold, and so the Sudafed may be talking at times. But a chance to kind of talk a bit about how our trio structure works, a bit about how each of our domains operates, and what we try to do as an organization for our members and for our profession at large. So I first want to just give a big shout out and thanks to the members of the SCP Executive Board who have taken the time to join today. We appreciate you so much. I appreciate you. But this organization is run by volunteers. Like we exist because our volunteers put in tremendous effort. And so this is just an opportunity to kind of recognize what those roles are, and then talk a little bit about the opportunities for engagement, because there are many great ways to get involved in SCP. And I'm really grateful for the ones that I've had the opportunity to do. So with that, I'd actually like to ask the other members of the executive board who've joined to just say hello and let people know your role in the organization. And so the person on my screen first is Joni.
Hello. A few words about what I do, or just
How about introduce yourself and your roles in SCP?
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Well, so I am the education domain lead, and what that means is I have a team of people who actually are the success factors in this little domain here, but we run a lot of the programs that you see in between conferences. The ones that are offered for CE credits, the webinars, we also have series for peer coaching, things like that. And so we look to meet the members' needs to offer educational opportunities. And also we support the town halls for ones and some opportunities that are for free for people who aren't even members. So that's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you. Ryan?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Warner. I'm a consultant psychologist. I'm the advocacy domain lead. And the purpose of the advocacy domain lead is ultimately to, advocate and be the voice of issues impacting members. Okay, so there's tons of issues impacting our field right now, right? We can think of AI, we can think about the death of DEI, we can think about, just tons of other licensing, challenges when it comes to master's level licensing, is that okay or not? When it comes to being a consultant, there's so many different issues impacting our field. So ultimately, the advocacy domain helps collaborate. We collaborate with other divisions like other domains like the education domain, for instance, to host webinar educational events. We also frequently put on various SCP podcast episodes in which we'll get the word out. In regards to the most recent one we had is we collaborate with the ECP, APA ECP division, and ultimately we were able to talk about how to be an early career consulting psychologist, how to get your foot in the door, how to break into the field, right? Because that's the issue right now impacting a lot of early career individuals of how do they, get into this field of consulting, right? So ultimately, yeah, our job is to educate, our job is to collaborate, and our job is to be the voice of SCP members. So if you want to get involved, I'll put a flyer into the chat as well so you can learn more about what we do. And that's all I have. So thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Shannon, if you're in a spot to say hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm not feeling camera ready. I also have a head cold and I'm working on one ear today. Hopefully that resolves itself. But I've played a few different roles at SCP over the years. Right now, I'm a member of the executive board because of my role as, sorry, yelling at the dog in the background here. Um, my role on, gosh, I forgot what the name is, Council of Representatives. And so, whereas the domains are typically working sort of within SCP on things for our members, as the representative, I interface with APA and work on things that on the big picture APA is working on. So when you see statements coming out of APA, policy, even things that like Ryan mentioned, policies around master's level licensure or statements around important issues around health, mental health, well-being, et cetera. Those are the things that council is working on. So I represent you at council, and even though the fiduciary responsibility is to APA, that is what that role looks like. I'm not sure I explained it very well. I'm pretty new in the role, but there's a lot of issues that are relevant to applied psychology that are being discussed right now. And so we often interface with other applied psychology divisions in order to also increase our voice among psychology. I will just put in a note that I've played a couple of other roles as conference co-chair as well as APA convention co-chair, and working on conventions and both convention and our our smaller midwinter conference can be great ways to get involved in a small way before you take on something bigger. So there's just so many different ways. And I actually started on the training and development, which is under Joni's domain.
Thank you, Shannon. So just to kind of contextualize it for everyone, the way that our division governance works is we have an executive board that is led by a current president who serves in tandem with the president who served before them and the president who will serve after them. We recently concluded our voting, and so Joni Cannell is in fact the president-elect starting next February. Our changeover happens as part of our midwinter conference in February, and Joni will move into the role of president-elect. So this year as president, I'm actually working off of a year under my belt already of being able to shadow the president from last year, Mark Sokol, as well as having the mentorship of last year's immediate past president, Catherine Hamblin. And so this year, I'm held in this wonderful group with Mark Sokol serving as immediate past president and with Lacey Farrow, who is our current president-elect. She will become president in February. And so one of the great things about this role as president is I never have to go it alone. And that was a concern that I had in terms of stepping up for this role was, gosh, this feels like a lot for one person to carry. And I think one of the great things about how our leadership trio works is that we never have to carry it by ourselves. The trio is supported on the board by our other domain leaders. And our domains are advocacy, which Ryan represented and talked about, community, which is led by Dr. Daniel Lattimore. Community is all about bringing our members together, fostering community within our society, and figuring out how we can just help our members to connect and grow together. And also how we can reach out across divisions. We are a remarkable group in that many of us came here from somewhere else. Many people come into consulting psychology as a mid or even late career pivot. Some people come into consulting psychology from the jump. And so this is a place where we really can just offer a lot to folks, but we want to, again, create that opportunity for networking and stickiness among our members. Joni talked about our education domain. We have our research domain, which is currently led by Ann Howell, and which Kathy Bittner will be taking over. a hallmark of who we are is our research-backed, science-based, evidence-informed practice. And so our research domain is really focused on making sure that we're bringing to our members and bringing to the market the latest in terms of evidence-based and backed practices, interfacing with the work that's being done at the broader APA. But really, we put that research front and center because that is so critical to who we are and our unique promise of value in the market. And then our final domain is the diversity and inclusion domain. That reflects our focus on fostering belonging and fostering diversity and inclusion. That has been led by Lacey Farrow. She has stepped into the role as president-elect, and we have elected a new domain leader who will begin in February, Dr. Emmanuel Neal. And as Shannon mentioned, we do also have our representatives to council who also serve as part of our executive board. So that kind of rounds out our service alongside our secretary and our treasurer. And our treasurer has been Colin Innes. He will complete his term at the end of January. And we look forward to welcoming Lorenzo Moultrie, who has been elected as the new treasurer. And we're excited that Sunny Lampasa will continue in her role as secretary. And we are all undergirded and supported by our executive director, our one part-time staff person, who is Heather Kennedy, who just keeps us all in check and in line. And so our trio meets twice a month, and our executive board typically meets once a month. And our responsibility is to consider important matters related to our society, and then our broader relationship with APA, and what initiatives we can have to sort of further our goals, which really are kind of threefold. One, we want to define and enhance the brand of consulting psychology in the market. Two, we want to equip our members to be the best ambassadors of that brand so that they can achieve success as they define it. And third, we want to do all of that in a way that makes our society sustainable now and into the future. And that's kind of in a nutshell how our structure works. And so I would love to prompt, but one, I would love to pause and see if there are any questions or comments on what we've covered so far. And then in that space, I would ask the other executive board members to maybe think about your journey to SCP leadership, how you got involved in leadership, and what your path has been like to the role you're currently in. So that's a lot. I will pause there.
Well, I was just going on the website and noticed that the revisions are up, and I just posted that. Very excited. It looks really good. And hopefully people can just navigate through themselves to find out what they want. But I think it's pretty easy to find now a lot of the different things. So I was also just posting up a little comment here about looking at the podcast for SCP, because a lot of us as domain leads and others have recorded episodes, and they're informational about things that are going on at SCP, about people who've been involved in certain things like education, advocacy, and all that, but also just good information, and that's all free. The other one I will post up in our chat is the link to the TPN website, which is where we host our educational events that are recorded, and we have on demand as well as our live ones. So I'll put that up in the chat too if people want to see it. But I'm up for questions, discussion. What are people looking for? What are we doing? What do you want to do? How can you get involved? There's so much we do in education. We'd love to have you.
What was the first role, Joni, that you had volunteering at SCP? I'm curious. I don't know.
Well, I kind of jumped in head first, um, co-chairing a conference with Daniel Lattimore. I had a great opportunity to work with him. He's just a blast to work with. Also with Larry Norton, who was the president at the time. And that was, I mean, definitely something that expanded my skill set in multiple ways, because I don't know. I mean, I guess I've planned smaller events, but that's a big event. Luckily, Heather is in the driver's seat on that one and knows how to actually do logistics and the budgeting and all. But our theme for that conference was Ask Heather. If you don't know the answer, hopefully she won't kill me for saying that. But at the time, that's what we needed to do because we were both new in the role. But there are other roles in doing the conference as well that aren't like necessarily running it, but just sort of a one-off kind of thing that people can get involved in. I've also volunteered to review programs, submissions, like, you know, that there's usually a committee that does that. And there are lots of different things, especially for grad students that can get involved and that help get their way into the conference without a fee and stuff like that too.
Mhm. Yeah. If I can build on some of the things that Joni said, one of the, I want to highlight what you mentioned about the readers, right? And that the folks who are reading the submissions to help define the program for our midwinter conference. And that sounds probably really intimidating to people. Like, oh gosh, I don't know that I'm qualified to do that. You have a doctorate degree, you're qualified to do that. Okay. And because we have folks like Kathy Bittner taking over, and I mean, we've just had amazing people develop out that particular skill set over the last few years. And so I would just say if that's something you think is intimidating, but you're interested and you want to learn how to write a great proposal, nothing like reading and evaluating them with a group of experts who are doing that with you. So again, I just like, it's a lot of work, but it's very valuable. And I think it can really, it offers lots of opportunities for growth within it. I also, as I mentioned, when I got started, I did lead a conference just after Joni. I think I was maybe one or two after the one that y'all did. I was luckily enough to be the first in-person one after two attempts at Manhattan Beach that had to go virtual. So we learned a lot through that process, but I didn't start there. I started with a very small project under training and development, which is under the education domain. There are a lot of these sort of work on a short-term project or task opportunity. I had one of those. It didn't end up developing into a thing, but the work on it and the relationships that I built opened up the opportunity for me to then actually do the bigger task, which was the conference lift, which I would tell you I would do it every year if they'd let me. I get to work with Heather. I love it. I love playing at the conference. So I think it's a great job. I would say that it's a lot of fun. But it is a lot of work also, but to be able to shape something that is such an awesome experience for so many people is just, I don't know, it's a great thing to be able to do. So, and that has ended up, all those fun things now has ended up with me on a different role, which nobody probably wants to know too much about, I don't think, which is Council of Representatives. I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one about that. But it does allow me the privilege of being on the sort of leadership group with SCP, which is probably one of the coolest parts about that job, I'd say. Somebody, I have no faces to look at. I have no nothing. I don't know. We're talking into the void. All I have is Joni and there we go. There's a Rachel. Rachel, I know you're eating. Sit in the
Yeah,
comments.
I'm done now, so you can see my face.
Well, and also we've gotten a question
Hey.
from Dr. Shelton, Amanda Ray. So that's that I appreciate that question because I am also someone with a lot of things to balance.
Mhm.
And so the for me, when I was sort of first making forays into, how can I get involved? Um, I was really looking for something that allowed me to do most of the work asynchronously. I do well with anything that allows me to team with other folks,
Mhm.
um, and where there is like a firm deadline. So that those are things that all work for me. And I completely stumbled into being the APA program chair. So it is not a role on the executive board, but it is an important role in the division. So in addition to our midwinter conference, putting in a plug for February 6th and 7th, 2026 at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. The theme is Level Up, and I hope to see you there. In addition to that conference, we also participate in APA Convention, which is the conference for all of APA. And I completely and accidentally ended up as the program chair of that when I had been a member of the division for like 3 months. This was like 2021. So I am a fairly new member compared to many of my colleagues. And I thought that like APA convention sounded really interesting to me. And Doug Riddle, who was the president at the time, sent out a note on the listserv about a Zoom meeting to learn more about convention. And I thought, oh, this is great. I'll go do that. I will learn more about convention. I did not anticipate hanging up from that call, then being the APA program chair for the division. Uh, but it worked out being a great role for me because it is something that happens in very short bursts, entirely asynchronously, um, for about 6 months or so of the year. And then there is the typical flurry of activity you have for a few days in August at convention. And for the rest of it, you just get to meet really cool people and you get to connect with more people in the division. And it worked out for me to be a fantastic experience. And from there, I stepped into this role. So what I would say is that we have lots of things to do, whether it is as a host, as Daniel is, as a host for our town halls, and just helping to make sure that our tech works and our speakers are here for our once a month town hall. Or it's something in advocacy. I mean, there's lots of little jobs that don't necessarily involve like a long term or a intense commitment for people who are busy. Um, and it's everybody finds their own way of doing it. Rachel, you want to jump in?
Yeah, if it's helpful, was going to give an example. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I'm building essentially still a startup. So, but I really want to give back. This community has been incredible for me from the beginning. And so Joni and Liz were kind enough to recruit me for the educational side. And in working with Joni on like how I could best contribute and still deliver what I've promised, which is my thing. One of the things that we came up with was something to do. One of the things to do, which is kind of on my own time, could be done on a weekend or wherever the pockets are, of getting some of our old recordings, specific recordings from other town halls, et cetera, up on the website, get them put into a way that, like, working with our social media team, to make sure that they're top-notch, presentable, in line with the podcast, et cetera. Don't need to go into more detail on it, but just as an example of a project, I mean, that's still supporting the education group. It's still supporting the division, but it's kind of fit into like your 24/7 as opposed to you have to meet at a certain time and place. So just as an example of one of the projects that you could do, and we would love to have you on our group.
That's a great example, Rachel. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting those recordings up, and I'm sure others are too. Another example that I just put in the breaking news, we had another person who's on our committee, who wanted to step away from something that was too demanding, but to have something that was like on her own time. And we just got the SCP 2025 conference recordings up on our platform. And so this is just like super exciting. It's taken a little while to get done, but that was because it's just a lot of work to do. But anyway, that was Gloria Pereira, by the way, if anyone is, yeah. So she just did that. So go have a look.
I would also add that our journal is always looking for qualified peer reviewers. And that's something else that you're able to do on your own time and certainly contributes, especially if you're interested on the research side of the house. So there's some great opportunities to be engaged through the journal. Volunteering with the conference was mentioned, volunteering with our graduate student consortium. There's like, and honestly, if there's something that you want to do and we haven't defined it yet, raise your hand. We'll figure out a way to do it. We're always looking for innovation, for people who are excited about doing something. All right, Mira, putting in a very self-serving plug for
No,
the
I'm not on the
journal.
board anymore, so I can still say they're awesome to work with even now. Mhm.
How did you get involved with that?
I was, in the research world, so they invited me to start as a reviewer. And then once they saw my reviews were decent, they invited me to serve on the board.
And how long were you in that role?
About 3 years or so, and they were sad that I was stepping down. I just couldn't handle all the things anymore. But then we were able to get another fantastic person to step in, Lubna Sumji, and she's doing an amazing job. And so that made me feel really, really happy to, continue having a strong editorial board for the journal. And they are really super awesome to work with if anybody has an inclination towards reviewing, even just reviewing, not even serving, in any other capacity.
Who else has reviewed for the journal? I know I've done some. Yeah.
So many. Yeah, so many. I mean, we had a long list, so like the nice thing is that there isn't a specific commitment. If you want to take on one after another, that's awesome. If you want to do one a year, that's okay.
And you can always decline if you can't do it. I mean, like if you're about to, I don't know, take a month off and travel around the world or something, you can just say, I can't do it. Or if it doesn't seem like an area that would be in your expertise, you can always decline as well. But I think there's a lot of encouragement to give it a try.
Yeah. The other thing that I think you benefit from, I benefited from just reading like cutting edge new stuff in the things I was interested in, because the things that I agreed to take on were things I was already interested in, and learning like what's out there, what are people talking about and writing about and researching, kept me up to date too.
And what's the best way if you want to be a reviewer? What's the best way to get involved?
I think reach out to anybody on the board. The current editor now is Ted Hayes, and Lubna Sumji is on there. Joel, I can never say his last name, it's so long. Can anybody say his last name who's on this that knows Joel? Okay. Ted, Joel, Lubna. Who else? I feel like I'm missing one. I can't see. It's just getting hidden in your background. That's okay. Any of them, if you get the journal, or if you go online, you can find all of their names there, and you should be able to find a contact. information there. And if I can just shut up for a second, I will get you some emails.
I just dropped the link in the chat. So if folks would like more info on getting involved with the journal, info is there, and you can connect with Ted Hayes, who is the journal editor. And we're really proud of our journal. Joni, you even did you edited a special edition recently.
I did a special issue, and I tell you, that is jumping in head first. But I have to admit that sometimes, working with others and getting involved in some of these positions, and then having somebody suggest to you that, yeah, you can do it, is really empowering. I mean, because I was like, editor? I mean, what? Like me? But having done it, it was now I feel like so much more comfortable. And I wasn't alone because I co-edited with Rodney Lohman. So I think that's one of the things we do a lot here. I mean, that's what I would put my plug in for education, but in all of the different leadership opportunities is that we don't just throw people in alone. We always support. And, if you don't feel like you're ready, we'll help you get there. Yeah.
So Ryan, I'm curious about your journey to leadership in SCP. If you're in a spot where you can speak. And if not, all good. I think another area that I really want to highlight that is another way to contribute is if you have great content that you would like to present. Our education domain does a great job showcasing the work of our members, but also bringing in really high quality speakers who are external to SCP. But if there's material that you'd like to see, if you have ideas for webcasts or webinars, that's a big area of what we do, and just providing that content, blog posts, ideas for podcasts, even recording a podcast. Those are all things that we look to do and are one-off ways of contributing. There's also plenty in the community space. So something that's happened in the last couple of years, especially post-COVID, is our members stepping up to host in-person gatherings regionally. And so we've had groups get together in New York. We've had groups get together, I believe, in Atlanta. We've had groups get together in sort of greater Houston. We're very spread out here. And it's been wonderful to just be able to connect in person. And these meetups have been a ton of fun. So you don't even have to know other SCP members in your space. Daniel Lattimore, who leads our community domain, will find them for you. And just gathering everybody at a Starbucks. I mean, it can be a local coffee place. It can be wherever. But just, providing a space for people to come together, even if it's 2 or 3. Building community is just something that we do really well. And this is a generous group of people. So getting to know your fellow members, I find like it's always time well spent. Great conversations.
That kind of makes me think about it's not exactly volunteering per se, but just showing up and taking advantage of all the things that the division has to offer when it's available to you. Pop in for the coffee and conversations. You're here at the town hall. It means a lot that you are here. Just showing up and participating in these conversations creates momentum. And connections happen, community happens, and things happen out of that. So I guess that'd be the other piece, right? If you're not like ready to fully jump in and volunteer or commit your time, um, just show up. Like that is enough in a lot of ways. I'm sorry that we need to recruit people for different roles, but like I just want people to know also that is enough. And that is really important to creating communities, that the community engages. I don't know if that sounds silly, but that's just what it made me think about.
I did hop on late, and I'm sorry if this question was already covered. If it was, just say don't worry about it. Have you listed, or is there a like top 5, top 10 list of things that you need people to volunteer for right now?
So
Yeah.
yes, and
Okay.
so there are volunteer roles kind of within the divisions and related to conference and APA convention. And then there are our elected roles. And so what we've done over the last couple of months, as we've been going through the website refresh, is recognizing the places where we, where do we need to start thinking ahead for next year's elections, because they will be here before we know it, as well as areas of need among our domains. So we have gotten that together. And as the website updates have rolled out, I had hoped that that would be on the website by today. But we're a couple of weeks out from that. So Mira, you did not miss it asked out loud. Mark did drop this question in the chat a little bit ago, but for everyone's benefit, that is something that we've put some real effort into, because we do have quite, we have quite a few roles, both working within the domains as well as in division leadership. Working in domains are not elected positions, but domain leaders are, as our trio members.
And I don't think historically we've had a ton of, infighting and, punching each other to get to the top and run for that presidential position or take those roles on, right? It does often take a little bit of, I think, earlier someone mentioned, I was asked and I didn't know, and I had that same experience when I took on several of the, actually probably all the major roles I've done, and particularly the elected one, was because I was asked by someone else. Um, and so there's a lot of that I think maybe happens. And so that feels like, I think part of that is, yes, it feels great to hear that, but for whatever reason, we don't necessarily see ourselves in these leadership positions. Whereas I would venture to guess that most of SCP as a whole is playing leadership position roles all over the place. And yet, right, there's not a lot of names on the ballot often for different roles. And I have a lot of hope that we can change that a little bit and people see the value that you can contribute in these roles, but also what you get back from it. If you don't mind me sharing just a little quick example, one thing that stands out for me is actually in working with Liz. So when I watched, gosh, so many two things going to get both the conference and the convention, but watching how Liz sort of thought through different things about the convention through her worldview in life and coming up with a structure that has really served us in the years forward. And the big, huge contribution I thought she made that year was really defining what the focus of APA convention is for SCP. The focus at APA convention for SCP is recruitment and, sharing how amazing we are with the rest of APA. We are not there to necessarily shine a light on the most hot new research. We're not there to get our narcissistic bubbles blown up because of our own individual presentations. The themes we are going for are really about drawing people into the value of SCP, and that includes a lot of different things about our academic and intellectual rigor, but it is clearly about our community. And so like that shift has had an effect on how convention is going to be done going forward for a long time. And it has already resulted in probably some of you here today who maybe weren't a part of SCP in the past. I know several people I talk to all the time for that. And that came out of a contribution, I think, that Liz made coming from her world and her observations to kind of focus in on this thing. And folks are like, yeah, that makes sense. And it is led through. That's the kind of impact that you can have that ripples out. Anyway, that's just what I was thinking.
Shannon, you're gonna make me choke up. Thank you, but thank you for that. And a note to something that Amanda Ray dropped in the chat, which was sort of a question about upskilling and helping people to feel confident stepping into these roles. I want to highlight that the trio isn't the only place where you have a 2 or 3 in the box support structure around you. So one of the things that we have done is build in succession planning. So, and that's something that we really started in earnest beyond the presidential trio about 4 years ago. So for example, for our conference, there's a conference chair and a co-chair. Next year, the co-chair becomes the chair and a new co-chair comes in. Same with APA convention. We have a convention chair for our program, for SCP's program at convention, and a co-chair. And this is how Shannon and I did it our year together. Shannon, I chaired, Shannon was the co-chair, and then I moved on and Shannon became the chair, and we had someone follow through beyond. And so now you can actually see the chain going back of leadership. But what that does mean is that you have the opportunity to kind of shadow and learn before you step into the role. We've done that this year with our transitions for our domain leadership. And we've done that with our transition for our new treasurer. In addition to what we have, obviously with our presidential trio, but again with our representatives to council, we have 2. And we're also able to have that because people do their appropriations voting, which is coming out shortly from APA. So please make sure you vote 10 to SCP. But one of the really great things is that everybody has the opportunity to both learn and then to step into the sort of the lead chair. And I really like being able, like, I think for me, especially excuse me, being newer to the organization, stepping into the president role would have been seemingly daunting and impossible. But knowing that I was going to have the support, not just of the immediate past president, but also having a chance to see the sort of less immediate past president as I came through, and then know that I would have this wonderful support coming in behind me of the future president-elect. It's just been remarkable. Like it's been really incredible. So I would say from an upskilling perspective, you're not going to be dropped into something by yourself. You'll have the opportunity to learn with someone, and whether that's getting support from journal editors if this is your first time as a peer reviewer, or it's getting to co-chair for convention. You'll have that chance to sort of work in tandem, and that's kind of really a hallmark of how we lead ourselves.
I guess I'm wondering if people have questions about development opportunities. There seems to be some apprehension, in terms of like, yeah, that's raised as an issue. I mean, if there's any questions people have about what they want to work on and develop, and maybe they don't even know, they can always just reach out to us to ask, like, where would be a good way to get that kind of experience. And for people who don't have time and but want to support SCP, I love Shannon's comment here. There's always sponsorship at all levels. We love small as well as large sponsorships. So yeah, whatever you have. or if you know somebody who might want to sponsor. We love that too.
This is not the first thing on our minds, but it's like, oh yeah, we were supposed to always keep in mind a little bit that um those are the things we forget sometimes, is to remind people we love your time, but also there's sometimes our financial needs that come in, particularly around conference sponsorship and being connected. It's a win-win, right? If you particularly like have folks in your network that are vendors or doing things that support consulting psychologists. I mean, it's ideally those kinds of people who really get a benefit out of connecting with us, and they just don't know that we exist. So it's not just like a pure money ask, but a sense of like, how can we support each other in this so that we can keep our conference as amazing as it is, and in particular so that we can keep opportunities for our grad students and volunteers to be able to participate in the conference. So it's not my job to do that ask, but someday maybe it will be. Who knows?
Mm.
Bill, what's up?
Well, I arrived late, and I think you were going over domains. Is that correct? When
I did go over the
did you-
domains at the beginning.
And I participated in the coffee or chat, whatever, recently, and mentioned an area. I've worked in healthcare, both as an internal in a couple of different settings, and also as an external independent, but primarily as an administrator, all the way up to the CEO level for an organization with a large healthcare component. And I'm interested in learning about others who have worked in healthcare, are interested in healthcare. Is that a potential new domain? Is there one that would be a good fit for folks who want to collaborate, for example, and share?
So first, I love it. Second, instead of maybe thinking in terms of domain, one of the things that we have had over the years are groups of members who have a particular area of interest. They have a special interest. Maybe it's in healthcare administration or healthcare policy, or they're not really sure, but it's healthcare related. What we have had are sort of members spontaneously organize special interest groups. We had one around AI for a period of time. We've had special interest groups, we still do. We have a special interest group that focuses on the psychology of finance and consulting psychology to financial professionals. And so these are groups that typically originate when one or more members get together and say, hey, typically it starts off as a message to the listserv. And nowadays, it's something else that I would feature in the note that the president sends out once a month as part of our newsletter, and says, hi, we have a new special interest group looking to form. If this is an area of interest to you, or you think it might be, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's a Monday from noon to 1, and we can help you to host it. You can, if you have your own Zoom, you can host, and just invite other members and see who joins. And if you get a critical mass and it's something that you want to continue with, we absolutely welcome special interest groups within SCP, because it's one of those things where when we have members with shared interests, sometimes it ebbs and flows. And so these are ways for members to kind of create spaces to get together. And a person who would be great to help support that is Daniel Lattimore, because that's really a community within the community domain. That's like a community activity. So that would be an example of how you could get that going. That's actually happened recently with our business development special interest group that she was mentioned earlier. Dr. Levna Sumji organizes, which is a group for people who want to get down to like brass tacks of building a business, going to market, and really engaging around the practical nature of building your business.
That's helpful.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that, Bill.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I think Daniel was on that Zoom and responded positively to that as an area of interest. So I will keep that in mind. I'm going to have more time in the months ahead than I have right now. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that sounds, I think it sounds like a really exciting area, especially now. There's a lot of opportunity for us as consulting psychologists in the realm of healthcare.
A lot of need. A lot of need. Thank you.
I do want to be mindful of time, and I know we are coming to the end of the hour. So as we do, I want to just thank all of the volunteers and executive board members, domain leaders who've joined the call today. Everyone who's participated as a attendee, as Shannon said. It matters too. So to our current volunteers, future volunteers, just really appreciate you, because this is an organization that serves its members and is served by its members. So I appreciate your being here and your interest in engaging with the topic and with Division 13 with SCP. Any closing words or questions from either my executive board colleagues or anyone on the line?
What's one thing that we should be looking forward to in addition to everything else? One particular thing for the SCP conference?
I'm looking forward to the family reunion. I love our folks. I love our people. I leave the conference just so I feel so loved when I leave the conference. Although I will say, because I am a little biased, it will come out in the announcement around registration, but I'm actually looking forward to a couple of our speakers. And I'm looking forward to learning from the wisdom of fellow members. I'm looking forward to seeing the program and the presentations. But I'm just looking forward to seeing our people.
Well, I would add that this is not like your normal family reunion. We don't have family dynamics like in some family reunions. We have great fun and just love for each other. So I'm looking forward to that
Great
too.
food part. We always have good food too, though. We get that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be in Vegas, so we're going to have fun. Definitely have. I am looking forward to the social. I'm looking forward to Daniel Lattimore and I bringing back the dance moves. We did own the dance floor in Charleston, so that level up. That's going to be making a
All right, make room.
comeback. So I get to pick my walk-on music. I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be a great program. Jamie and Daniel, who are this year's chair and co-chair, have just really done an incredible job so far. Assisted, of course, by Heather Kennedy, who is our executive director, without whom nothing would move forward. But we've just had great folks contributing around the conference. So I'm looking forward to that, February 6th and 7th at Caesar's Palace.
All right. Good times. Good times.
We're gonna see Joni on the dance floor.
Oh yeah. Everybody has to come out on the dance floor. I just want to thank you for having this topic. I think that it's an important one. I hope that we can continue to have this conversation, because it is a bit of a mystery box sometimes when you come into the organization. Yes, we have the stuff on the website, but it's always better when we can continue to talk about it and share our stories. So I just want to say how much I appreciated this conversation, even though I probably heard my voice more than I would have liked to. With my one ear issue going on, not because I don't love the sound of my own voice. We all know that's not true. But thank you for doing this, and I hope that we can continue it and that we'll have even more people. So tell a friend, right? So that we have more next time.
Thank you all for being here. And I will put in one more plug. SCP president's the best job, hands down. So if you're thinking about it, get on it. It's an incredible privilege to serve our membership and the opportunity to give back to APA more broadly, and more importantly, to make an impact for our colleagues is tremendous. It's also kind of fun. So if that ever crosses your mind, think about raising your hand for it. It's really, it's been the privilege of my career. Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful evening, and stay in touch. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.